It's the world you see, just a shadow on a cave wall. Greetings, mortals. Capital Day to you all. I'm your host Simon. Welcome back to the Library of Gnosis. In today's broadcast, I will be explaining the metaphysical concept known as the theory of forms. The ancient Greek philosopher Plato did a lot to change the way we think about the world. Everything from mathematics to ethics and logic. But perhaps one of his most influential and controversial contributions to philosophy was the theory of forms. In basic terms, Plato's theory of forms asserts that the physical world is not really the, quote, real world. Instead, an ultimate reality exists beyond our physical world. Plato discusses this theory in a few different dialogues, including the most famous one, called The Republic. It is also likely that Plato inherited some of this theory from his mentor, Socrates. Plato's philosophy asserts that there are two realms, the physical realm and the spiritual realm. This physical realm is the material stuff we see and interact with on a daily basis. This physical realm is changing and imperfect, as we know all too well. The spiritual realm, however, exists beyond the physical realm. Plato calls this spiritual realm the realm of forms, also called the realm of ideas or realm of ideals. Plato's theory of forms asserts that the physical realm is only a shadow or image of the true reality of the realm of forms. So, what are these forms, according to Plato? The forms are abstract, perfect, unchanging concepts or ideals that transcends time and space. They exist in the realm of forms. Even though the forms are abstract, that doesn't mean they are not real. In fact, the forms are more real than any individual physical object. So, concepts like redness, roundness, beauty, justice or goodness are forms. Individual objects like a red book, a round ball, a beautiful girl, a just action, or a good person resides in the physical realm and are simply different examples of the forms. Let's consider a specific example. Think of a square. Now draw a picture of a square on a piece of paper. I will also draw a picture of a square on a piece of paper. Our pictures are likely a bit imperfect. Maybe our lines aren't exactly straight, or our angles aren't exactly 90 degrees. In his Socratic dialogue, Plato argues through Socrates that because the material world is changeable, it is also unreliable. But Plato also believed that this is not the whole story. Behind this unreliable world of appearances is a world of permanence and reliability. I feel this to be somewhat related to the Hindu idea of the Brahman, which connotes the highest universal principle, the ultimate reality in the universe. In major schools of Hindu philosophy, it is the material, efficient, formal and final cause of all that exists. It is pervasive, infinite, eternal truth and bliss which does not change, yet is the cause of all changes. But what is a Platonic form or idea? Take, for example, a perfect triangle. As it might be described by a mathematician, this would be a description of the form or idea of a triangle. Plato says such forms exist in an abstract state, but independent of minds in their own realm. Considering this idea of a perfect triangle, we might also be tempted to take a pencil and paper and draw it. Our attempts will of course fall short. Plato would say that people's attempt to recreate the form will end up being a pale facsimile of the perfect idea, just as everything in this world is an imperfect representation of his perfect form. The ideal form of a triangle and the drawing we come up with is a way of comparing the perfect and imperfect. How good our drawing is will depend on our ability to recognize the form of a triangle. Although no one has ever seen a perfect triangle, for Plato this is not a problem. If we can conceive the idea or form of a perfect triangle in our mind, then the idea of a triangle must exist. Just for a minute, I want you to close your eyes for me. Now imagine a triangle in your mind's eye. What color is this triangle? Is it pointing upwards or downwards? Leave it down in the comment section. Most people imagine the triangle pointing upwards because of the fact that we don't see triangles balancing on their point in the real world. You can open your eyes now and let us continue with the video. The forms are not limited to geometry. According to Plato, for any conceivable thing or property, there is a corresponding form. A perfect example of that thing or property. This list is almost inexhaustible. Tree, house, mountain, man, woman, ship, cloud, horse, dog, table, and chair would all be examples of independently existing abstract perfect ideas. Plato says that true and reliable knowledge rests only with those who can comprehend the true reality behind the world of everyday experience. In order to perceive the world of forms, individuals must undergo a difficult education. We must be taught to recall this knowledge of the forms, since it is already present in persons' mind, due to their soul apparently having been in the world of forms before they were born. Someone wanting to do architecture, for example, would be required to recall knowledge of the forms of building, houses, brick, tension, etc. The fact that this person may have absolutely no idea about building designs is irrelevant. On this basis, if you can't recall the necessary knowledge, then you're obviously not suited to be an architect or a king. Not everyone is suited to be a king in the same way as not everyone is suited to mathematics. Conversely, a very high standard in a particular trade suggests knowledge of its forms. The majority of people cannot be educated about the nature of the forms, because forms cannot be discovered through education, only recalled. To explain our relationship to the world of forms, in the Republic, Plato uses the analogy of people who spend their whole lives living in a cave, watching shadows that are being cast by a puppet show that they can't see. The people look at the shadows and interpret them to be the objects the puppeteer is manipulating. So in our world, we look at an orange and see a sphere, but the true sphere only exists in the other realm. Our realm is subjective, the other realm is objective. Plato believed there are two realities. The first is the world in which we live. The second is a non-physical realm in which the forms exist. Everything in our world is a copy or attempt to represent a form. The forms are archetypes and characteristics: blackness, roundness, softness, goodness, hardness, greenness, triangleness, squareness, etc. So, for example, the perfect form of a sphere is in this other reality. In our world, we have but copies that don't quite hit perfection. It is believed that this Greek concept of another realm of perfection, above our own, eternal and unchanging, was the inspiration for the Christian concept of heaven. Plato was talking about the distinction between the conceptual classes of things and real life. For instance, of that class, I could direct you to my house, my kitchen, and the dining table to retrieve a forgotten wallet. Despite the fact that you'd never been in my house, you would recognize all these objects as instances of the classes: kitchen, table, and wallet. My table need not even have legs, but could be dangling from the ceiling by chains, and it would still have enough properties of the class table for you to identify it. So, what do you think? Is there a hidden world out there? Leave it down in the comment section.
Thank you for listening. See you next time, mortal. Remember to hit that bell button to stay notified. Subscribe for more Red Pill content. Do give it a like if you enjoyed it, and feel free to share it. If you want to support my work, you can find me on Patreon at Library of Gnosis. You can find me on YouTube, Facebook, and Bitchute at Library of Gnosis. The audio versions of my broadcasts are available on Spotify as a podcast at Library of Gnosis. Music is produced by Coda.